Good morning, Galaxians, and welcome to another live edition of the Galaxy CDs Rocks and Flips Reseller Talk podcast, where today I am joined by not one, but two guests. Please give a warm Galaxian welcome to Mary and Mike.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us.
Welcome to the show, guys. Thanks for spending a little time. You guys have been busy. You were on a Cats show last night, yeah?
Yeah, we've been getting around. I tell you, it's so great. The outpouring of support, from the community. And we started this channel just 4 months ago. And right away, once the channel was announced, we were invited. I think we did like about maybe 10 or more different shows, right, Mary? Correct me if I'm wrong. But we were on everyone's show, and they just introducing us and getting the word out about our channel. Really well appreciated. And it's the same. I feel the same. That you've invited us on, and I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate what you are trying to do in the community. So we'll get into that here in a little bit. But first, why don't you take each of you just a minute and introduce yourselves, let everybody know where they can find you on social media. Mary, I'm going to go ahead and start with you. So go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I'm Mary. I work for a chemical company as a legal admin full-time, and then on the side I sell on Poshmark and Mercari and a couple of the district marketplaces. I run the social media, well, the Instagram and the Facebook side of the MikeMetco Meetups page, and I also help with some of the interviews. When I saw that Mike had first started his channel, I emailed him and I asked him if there was just any way I could help at all. I used to promote local music, and I hadn't done that for a while. And I thought, wow, this would really be cool to get involved with. But I had no idea he would bring me in like he has. So I do really appreciate Mike for letting me hang out. And thank you, Ryan, for having us on.
Yeah, that we'll have to get into that music promotion thing, because I mentioned offline I used to have a CD and record store, and that was one of the things I did. We had local bands come in and play, and I promoted local shows. So that's really interesting. I'm always fascinated to find like-minded individuals. Mike, if you want to introduce yourself and let everybody know where they can find you as well.
Sure. My name's Mike Camparelli, otherwise known as Mike Metco, as I explained last night on Cat Show. The way I got my nickname was I'm a retired electrician. I had a company called Metco Electric for many years, and that's hence the name. So I sell on eBay, solely eBay for the last 5 years. And 4 months ago, I started this channel called MikeMetco Meetups, because going to meetups is kind of like my passion. I've always had the reputation for being the person that goes to all the meetups, because it's pretty much true. And I went to my first meetup 4 years ago, the first Boss Reseller Remix, and was really amazed at the community and the outpouring of love and support. I didn't really even know that there were people out there like myself, until I ventured out and went to my first meetup. And since then, I've been going to all of them ever since. And we started this channel, and I'm sure we'll get into more of the details, but basically it's a channel that embraces the community and supports and educates and informs everyone. We basically do like 3 or 4 videos per meetup. We start off, Mary and I interview the hosts, the organizers of the event, to kind of get the word out there and let people know what to expect, if they were going to go, and if they're not going to go, what they've missed. And then once we get to the event occurring, I do some vlog style videos where we interview the speakers and the attendees and take look at some of the activities, the extraneous activities, like going to garage sales. And we were just at the Plains to Profit. They had like this thrift bus where all 50 of us got on one bus and went around town to all the different thrift stores. That was fun. And then also for every event, I do a live stream, which I think my favorite part. And I really love the live streams actually as a format. That's also my favorite, because well, just in general, like a live stream like this is an opportunity to connect with community, with people at home, and especially at the meetups. People who might have like some FOMO and wish they were there, have an opportunity during the live stream to interact, in real time. Because the live streams have a live chat, so people can just kind of like come in and talk to the people that they would have been talking to if they had the opportunity, if they were there. So I think that's a great feature, because again, our purpose is to kind of bring the meetups to the people at home and to inform them. And then the third aspect of each meetup coverage is once they get home, I'll do a little wrap up, and we talk about what I experienced, and I maybe show some of the finds that I got, and that's it. Then we go to the next one. Mary and I will be attending the Nashville meetup coming up at the end of the month, so tune in for that if you like. So that's about it.
Where are you both located?
I'm north of Columbus in Ohio, in Powell, Ohio.
Okay.
And I'm in New York, just north of New York City. I'm about 15 minutes outside of Manhattan.
So that's quite a bit of traveling for the two of you. Mary, do you go to most of the events as well, or?
I probably wouldn't say most. I've actually only been to the one in Crossville so far, and then I'll be going to Nashville. So yeah, I have my main coverage is through the social media, but right. I'm gonna try to get to more this year though. But Mike's already been to 2 this year, and I haven't been to any yet.
Yeah, I haven't. I've done a couple of the like eBay open kind of deals where they have like the local introduction for like whatever, but I've not gone to any like the Boss Remix or any of those kind of things. But speaking of community, let me get into the chat here and run through some good mornings. Mel Flips It. Good morning. Thanks for coming out. There's Mike. Hello. Welcome. Lord Jake Ryan. Good morning. Good to see you. Big Dre. Hello. Sissy Moore. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for liking all my Instagram videos. Amy 5. Good to see you. Media Picker. Good morning. Are you playing hooky from work? Or are you watching on the sly there today? Big Dre. No, the Flippin' Ain't Easy channel are big fans of Mike. There you go. Dendicor Depot is with us this morning, and Lag says hello as well. So you were doing these meetups, going to these meetups for several years before you decided to do kind of the channel and the social media. What was the kind of impetus that made you decide this is something that you wanted to do?
Well, that's an interesting story. I'm glad you asked. Actually, I've always had an interest in YouTube. I mean, when I first, came on board, reselling, I knew nothing, and as most of us do, you want to get educated a little bit, so you just watch YouTube, and I just consumed YouTube content. I mean, I literally have watched thousands and thousands of hours
right.
of YouTubers. I mean, to this day, I mean, literally YouTube is on in the background at the very least during all my waking hours. I'm always always kind of my companion, so I always enjoyed it, and like I said, I wasn't even aware for the first 3 or 4 months that there was a community out there until Katie and Vicky had announced that they had their first upcoming meetup, the first Boss in 2021. And like I said, I went and checked it out and really loved it. I got very friendly with a lot of people in Vegas. I go back there every year now. I have a home in Vegas. And what happened was, as I started to go to all of these meetups, I got comfortable and connected with a lot of the YouTubers.
Sure.
Because everyone's really so out, I was always afraid to kind of approach people, but then I found that really cool people. So, I got friendly with everyone, and everyone really started to try to encourage me to start my own channel, because everyone I was hanging out with were YouTubers. They had their own channels, and I was right in there hearing all the conversation about engagement and views and the algorithm, the YouTube algorithm. However, I really wasn't interested in doing it at the time because I really was very uncomfortable appearing in front of the camera.
Right.
That was really my main concern, and I really didn't want to do it. Although it seemed appealing, and I had this camaraderie with all these other YouTubers, and it would have been great to be on equal footing with them. But like I said, I was just a big baby, and Big Dre had mentioned John Flippin' Ain't Easy's channel. The first time that I appeared in front of the camera was John had invited me on to his 20,000 subscriber celebration. He had a party, and I donated something as a giveaway, and he invited me on. And long story short, I had like a stomach ache the whole day before appearing. I really did. I remember that appearance. It was only like 5 minutes or so, but I was agonizing backstage the whole time. But anyway, I got through it. And little by little, more and more, people were putting an idea in my head. Like I remember, Rod Picking and Punching had called me up one day, and he says, "Mike, you should really have a channel, just like everyone else, and in a constructive, positive fashion, sincerely." And I said, "Rod, I don't know. I mean, I read off the whole laundry list of why it's not a good idea to have a YouTube channel. Jump into a rabbit hole. It's a lot of work. It's not really financially
Right.
advisable because I'm not, at this point even considering doing it for the money. But basically, the real underlying fact was I was afraid to get in front of the camera.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing. So anyway, one thing led to another. I had been invited to stay with the reseller locker room guys at their Airbnb in Crossville, Tennessee this last year, which is where I met Mary. A lot of great things came as a result of that week. And they had done a live stream live from Crossville, which is where I got the idea to do my lives from the meetups. And I was a guest in the home. I wanted to try to be part of the crowd, and everyone else was going to appear. And they says, come on for a couple of minutes and we'll just interview everyone. It was a great idea. And I really didn't want to do it. I absolutely did not want to do it at the time. And I says, okay, I tell you what, Ben, okay, fine, I'll do it. And they had been after me for a while, and I finally conceded. I says, yeah, against my better judgment, but put me on just for 2 minutes and shoot, get me the heck off of there. You know what I mean? I'll do my obligation. I'll try to get through it. And I don't know what happened. It was I remember so vividly, like an entire 180 transformation just occurred. I guess maybe because I was so comfortable and they were so supportive and everything. Well, they put me on, and after a couple of minutes, as I requested, Ben said, all right, Mike, thank you for coming on. I said, no, wait, I'm cool. And I was like,
and a star was born.
Yeah, exactly. It was at that moment. And then, after I had left, I was like on the top of the world, right? And I walked right up to my other friend, Jefferson Benz, who has the podcast. Pocket Change podcast, and he's a personal friend, and he had been after me to be on his show for the longest time. And I said no, but him I could level up, but I could say, look, I'm just scared to do it. Benz, I appreciate it, but thanks, but no thanks. But now with this newfound confidence, he was right in the room. Right after I got off of the live, I walked right up to Jefferson and says, okay, bro, I'm ready. He says, what do you mean? What are you ready for?
Nice.
I said, I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to, I'm really ready to be on your show. And I was on his show. I was like to get a featured guest for the entire hour. And it was pretty good. It didn't go too bad. And like I said, now I was real comfortable because it was weird. It was kind of like strange because I knew that I kind of know what I'm talking about, and I love talking about it, but I just had this fear about being in front of the camera. So,
well, that's a great way to get started on someone else's show, as opposed to having to carry the whole show yourself and learn the gear and the setup and how to upload and all that. You can just go on and kind of get familiar with the interaction with YouTube and being in front of the camera. My initial plan for this was it was just going to be a podcast. I wasn't even going to have a YouTube portion because I was the same. I didn't really want to be in front of the camera. And it became apparent to me pretty quickly that it was going to be a lot easier to get viewers and followers on YouTube just because of the way search works than it is on a podcast. So I ended up doing YouTube, and then it's blown up into, three cameras and 8 microphones, and it's just insanity. But
no, that's just the very nature of our community and why I love it so much. Whether it be YouTube or whether it be doing your first, live auction sale, or just selling in general, or going to garage sales with other people, the community is so supportive.
Right.
It really is amazing, and each and every day I'm just awed by the fact of how you always have people right alongside of you, willing to pull you up and help you out every day. And like, for example, I was just talking about my catapult into the YouTube world. How had the community not been the way it was, I would have never got to this point.
How about you, Mary? What was the driving force to get you in front of the camera?
Well, I actually had no intent to be in front of the camera.
I dragged her in.
Yeah. I have always had really bad stage fright. So, but once I emailed Mike and, asked if I could help in any way, and he wanted to know if I wanted to be part of the interviews, I was like, well, I mean, I might as well. So I don't have a really cool story like he has. I said, oh, okay, I'll give it a shot, but
Right.
it's gotten a little bit easier for me now. The terror subsides maybe a little with every show.
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing fine.
But I mean, I've been in front of audiences before. I used to put together concerts locally, and so I was on the news and on the radio promoting my concerts. And I've been live on Dave Ramsey's show and Dave Ramsey's studio, and I mean, I'd say probably quite a massive audience on Dave Ramsey's show. And then I've been on stage at a couple of the shows, but still, I'm very camera shy. So yeah, I guess over time, those experiences led me to this. But
Sure.
yeah, I really didn't intend to be on the screen with Mike.
Talk to me a little bit about the music promotion and the show promotion. It's way off the tangent from reselling and YouTube, but I'm fascinated by that. So what kind of acts did you work with, and what kind of shows did you put together?
Well, I really liked going and seeing local shows,
Right.
I started by seeing this one in particular band, and I loved them. They played 80s metal, kind of just metal thrash hair, that kind of stuff, the 80s stuff. And I just loved it. And the guys in the band actually noticed me in the audience just because I was having such a great time. And one thing led to another, and I wound up working for them. Now back then, it wasn't like Facebook and stuff. I mean, this was still like 2007. Right. So, I mean, it wasn't like it was in the Stone Age, but I actually did their newsletter for them. And, I started I did wind up starting their Facebook page eventually, and I promoted them. And then, I thought, well, I love all local music, not just these guys. So then I started a Facebook page called Local Rock Showcase. And that was where I promoted just all the bands. And then I thought, well, my son was active duty military at the time. He's a Marine Corps veteran. And I worked with the military group in town, and I thought, well, a good way to make them money would maybe to put a local show together. So I talked to a club owner. I had one band in my pocket, and I went in and talked to the club owner. And that first show, I thought, oh, we'll do 3 bands, for a night. That'd be cool. It wound up being 18 bands over 2 days.
Nice.
And it was called Warrior Jam. That's what the show was called. And I did it for 5 years, I think. The club did it one more year without me, and then that stopped. But then I did a couple shows for the USO, and I did a couple shows for Pet Rescue. So, but it just came from the love of local music.
Right. Similar to how a lot of us got into reselling and into YouTube. It's just something we enjoyed, and how we pick the categories that we sell in, which we'll get into here in a minute. I chose books and media because that's something I'm into, and other people have made other choices. Talk a little bit, Mary, we'll start with you, the platforms that you sell on and the types of things that you sell, and kind of walk us through why you made your choices about what and where.
I started out years ago, just starting to sell stuff out of my house on Facebook Marketplace. And then I started selling on eBay. And at that time, I was mainly doing auctions. I don't even know if I knew there was Buy It Now. So this was, I guess this was around 2012. So yeah, I really was just getting rid of my own stuff. And then over time, I started buying other things. Now, I didn't discover YouTube, so it's not like, oh, I'm doing all this research. Oh, how do you sell? It's like, eBay says this, VHS box set weighs 4 ounces. Okay, cool. It did not weigh 4 ounces. So. And then it eventually I started selling. That's when I just started buying anything to sell, just anything at the thrift store. And then eventually I found Mercari, and I was still buying things at the thrift store. And then eventually I started going into retailers looking for items. And so now I mainly do retail arbitrage. And I stopped selling on eBay. And then I just sell on Mercari and Poshmark and a couple of the district platforms. I tend to like linens, baby blankets, sheet sets. I mean, I'll still sell anything, but I do like retail arbitrage.
Right. Tell me a little bit about why you chose to leave eBay? We talked a little bit offline about sellers make choices about what platforms they will sell on. And I was telling you about how I've chosen as a bookseller not to sell on Amazon because of some of the drama over there. But what was your decision on eBay?
Well, honestly, the item specifics were driving me crazy. That may seem like the lamest excuse ever, but since I do have a full-time day job, I have the
Right.
luxury of, if this isn't fun, I'm not going to do it.
Sure.
And it was no longer, now ask me, God forbid, if something, happens, which I mean, I certainly hope not, but yeah, the item specifics were just driving me crazy, and it was taking me so long to list that I just wasn't getting anything done. And I actually did try to go back, and it was just annoying me.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to list on Poshmark and Mercari, and I can just do it faster. So, and I know eBay has like a gazillion more buyers, obviously.
Right.
Poshmark does have quite a few. Mercari is quite a bit lower than Poshmark.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was really, that is my probably lame excuse why.
No, that's totally. And they went through a period of time there. This has been several years ago, but like going into fourth quarter, it seemed like every year they were asking sellers to go back in and add item specifics to what in my case would have been thousands of listings, which is just insane. So I totally get where that would be kind of a turnoff. Mike, what about you? What kind of things do you sell, and what are your main platforms?
I only sell on eBay
Okay.
at this point. Although I'm starting to get into live selling, I sell on some of the district live sites. Just getting started with that. Basically, I learned right off the bat, and they told me just sell what you got before you even make any investment to see if you like it. Well, it turns out I love it, and I buy a lot of stuff now. But I started off just selling stuff around the house.
Right.
And also I've been in business about 45 years, and I have like a garage full of stuff. And I had wondered for many years if I was actually a hoarder, because I just don't throw anything out, But as it turns out, I was just a reseller in development.
And didn't know it.
And it turned out that it served me well, because I have stuff in my garage, in my shop in Mount Vernon, like I said, that I've had for years and years, and I've been able to sell all of that stuff. And actually, what started me, I'll tell you my Zinsco story. I have a little prop here. This is a circuit breaker called Zinsco, and one of the last jobs that I did before I closed my shop was I was contracted to remodel like 200 units, or basically take the old circuit breaker panel out and put a new one in, and new circuits and all of that. And I ended up, and again, not throwing anything out, I ended up with 2,000 of these. And I thought there was a little bit of a value to it, but I didn't realize how much of a value it is. These have been discontinued for like 20 years, yet there is a need for them. There are installations where they have these breakers. And if you were to go to a electrical supply house, you're not getting any new. You're going to get these, basically a refurbished breaker for like $39 and all. So I had 2,000 of them, which I sold for like $20, $19.99 a piece, and that got me on the map right away. I immediately started doing well. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was selling 3 or 4 or 5 of these a day, lots of 10, 50, whatever, and I've since sold them all out. So that's one of the items that I do sell. I concentrate on. Being an electrician, I've had a lot of electrical surplus stuff. In the last 4 or 5 years of my career, I branched off into like audio installations as well, servers and switches and network stuff and all of that. And what happens is, typically when you go into someone's home to make a reinstallation of new equipment, you're ripping out the old stuff, and much of the time it's all workable stuff. It's just like second generation or whatever.
Right.
And more affluent clients want like the new 55-inch TV. The old 55-inch TV that's 3 years old is of no longer any value. So people would literally say, "Look, Mike, could you do me a favor and take this stuff with you and throw it away?" I said, "Well, all right, I'll take it with me, but I didn't throw it away."
Right.
And I have like all of this electronics surplus that's working. May not be brand new, but I've been able to just flip that and sell it. So I do sell a lot of electronics, a lot of electrical stuff, but in general, I love the garage sales. So I'm an everything seller as well. I do have certain
Right.
specialties, and if I see electronics at a garage sale, I might, end up heading in that direction and picking it up as opposed to other things. But as as I watch all these YouTube channels and I learn more about different categories and different niches, I start developing those. And I got to learn to kind of stay in my lane because I don't want to be a jack of all trades and master of none and then get into trouble somehow. So I try to keep myself focused into like 4 or 5 main categories, but then if something looks appealing along the way, I'll grab it. So I sell just about anything that I can turn a profit on, pretty
Right.
much.
Yeah, I do the same. I'll go into a sale with, my target of looking at the books or the media. But if I see other things, electronics, I spent a good part of my career. I was a general manager for Best Buy and I sold electronics way back in the day. So I've got some familiarity there. And when I see stuff like that, I'll take a look at it and, run some comps just to see. But
Sure.
it's not why I go there. And my start in this, I've talked about it on this show before, was very similar. I had a CD store up through like 2012. And when I closed it, I was left with a fairly significant amount of inventory that I did not blow out, that was just sitting here in my basement. And when I decided this was something that I wanted to pursue, I'm like, I've got hundreds of CDs
Sure.
down there that I can list pretty quickly. They're easy to work with and easy to pack and ship and the whole 9 yards. And almost immediately, they were selling. I sold one for well over $100 within a
Nice.
week, and I'm like, okay, this is something that
It'll work.
you could do and make a living at. So it's interesting. We all kind of have similar stories on how we
Similar
kind of
but
got
different.
started.
Right. Different details, but it's the same intent.
Yep. Let me get back here into the chat and see what we got going on. Media Picker is watching while he's working. Lag says hello to Mike. Such a likable guy. And you mentioned earlier about the community, and that's one of the things I rave about on this channel is how great this community is with helping each other out in these once a week lives and answering each other's questions. And the community by and large among resellers is just fantastic. People are so willing to help and answer questions, and it's just really been a great experience from that standpoint.
So true. So true.
See here, Amy, I used to sell mostly auction format too, completely opposite now. eBay is the only one for her. Auctions it's been interesting to watch the growth of Whatnot because they're probably 99% auction, which was what eBay was, 30 years ago when they first got started. And now, like in my case, I've got, I don't know, 11,300 and some listings, and 4 are auctions. Everything else is buy it now. So it's crazy how that platform has changed. And now here comes somebody with, reinventing the wheel and going back to auctions and just killing it. Big Dre says doing good. Been busy trying to get my secondary store going. Already started listing, but I'm having problems with subcategories for some reason. I can't select all when creating a listing. eBay. What are you going to do? Yesterday, I don't know if you saw, you couldn't list anything mobile if you were on the current version of the app. And you use business policies. Every time you tried to list something, it referred you to go to the web to try to complete your listing. So they just continue to have issues. Miss Lachey has joined us. If you have any questions, anybody, for either Mike or Mary, let us know. Den Decor Depot asks a good one. How do you get Mercari buyers?
I will say that Mercari, unfortunately, last year when they started making all their changes, it's never been quite the same. So I will say that I actually share all my listings on Pinterest, which I don't know if anybody here uses Pinterest.
That's pretty unique, but if it works for you, that's great.
Yeah, I share my Mercari listings on Pinterest, and my Poshmark and my First Class Treasures on Pinterest. So I have definitely, I can't say like it's the majority, but I've definitely gotten sales where I've been able to compare the names of somebody that just joined the platform. So, I guess sharing your listings, and then, I do send offers, but I not all the time. I do feel like a lot of times on Mercari and even Poshmark, liking it is just like liking something on Instagram where they just like it,
Right.
Now there are buyers liking it, just trying to get a better deal, but I do find that there are a lot who they just like it. That's all. So yeah, I guess I can't give you like a magic potion for how to get them. But I do think consistent listing is good. Now I'm not saying you have to list 20 items a day or whatever. I don't know that you'd want to just disappear though for weeks on end off the platform and stop listing. So, but Poshmark, actually, I do sell more on there now. And I do think is because of all the changes they made and just going back and forth. And I think it really confused people. So sorry, that probably didn't help, but that's.
Well, and we're all in the same boat. I've talked on this show regularly about how I would like Mercari to be more successful than it is. And I don't know, maybe they're meeting their own targets. It doesn't seem that way. I know that, they keep talking about their goal is to just break even in the US, and every quarter they miss that mark. So I hope they figure it out, because it would be great to have another option at a slightly lower fee than what you're paying on eBay or Poshmark. But man, it is a struggle over there. Mike, do you do anything kind of off-site promotions? Do you have like a Instagram account for your eBay store? Or do you do anything, or do you just rely on the eBay traffic?
I'm pretty one-trick pony kind of guy. I just really focusing on, doing the best I can listing on eBay. And I'm not saying that's the right tact, the right way to go. I mean, I've toyed with cross-posting and getting on other platforms, and it probably makes all the sense in the world to do that, to get more eyes on your product by being on different sites. I just haven't gotten to that. And now that I've gotten into the YouTube realm, I mean, all bets are off on any redevelopments of my reselling business. I mean, to be honest, my profitability on eBay has taken a hit since I've started the channel, but I don't mind. To be honest. My goal, I mean, I'm retired. I really, people ask me, are you full-time or part-time? I'm kind of part-time, but I put full-time hours into it. But actually, to be more realistic, I'm just a hobby. I'm a hobby seller. You know what I mean? I don't really do it for the money. So I do it really just for engaging in the community. And I was able to do that well enough just before I even got into having a channel. But now that I have a channel, that ability to hang out with everyone in the community has been accelerated quite a bit. So I'm getting much more out of my initial purpose and goal at like half the revenue. But like I said, it doesn't really matter to me. I know that doesn't really answer the question, but that was just a thought that I had, that my motivator is just really kind of engaging in the community,
right?
Doing the best I can to give back to the community that's treated me well. I mean, like the reason why I really engage in the community so greatly is because, as you all know, to just sell on our respective platforms can be lonely. We sit alone, and we may not get much relatability from our family and our peers back at home. They don't get us. They say like,
"No, we're crazy."
Right? You go to garage sales and pick up all this junk and sell it online. Well, yeah, that's what we do. They don't get it. So I enjoy it. But like I said, it is lonely, and I'm a people person. So to get out there into the community is just wonderful to me. So I really enjoy it.
Yeah. And I'm in the same boat in terms of the YouTube piece of it. My channel is not big. It doesn't make really any money to speak of. It's not even paid for the equipment that I've got to run the shows. Yeah. But the ability to be able to give back to the community and to share things and to get that interaction and, get people engaged it's an itch that you can't scratch if you're just doing the reselling, sitting here in my basement 6, 7, 8 hours a day. So It's been a really nice change, and these lives in particular with the interaction that you get in the chat really makes a difference. Big Gray says he can only see about half his subcategories, and they are store categories. I wonder what's going on there. Mel Flips It says, I use Pinterest and share posh listings there. It boosts the algorithm. Dendecor uses it for his Etsy store. Brian Henry, good morning, my friend. Welcome to the show. Amy5 says, should say I've been trying Whatnot, not too successful there yet. My experience over there has been really mixed. I've had a couple of sales that were just fantastic and a couple others where I didn't sell a single thing. Which makes for a very long hour. Mel Flips It says, sounds like I should use Pinterest for my Etsy and Mercari too. Again, if you're here in the chat and you have any particular questions, please let us know so we can get those addressed. Talk to me a little bit more about the channel and the Instagram and what you see for the future of that. What are your growth plans for the two of you in making that thing work?
Do you want?
Yeah, I'll leave that to Mary because I have very little influence when it comes to populating our socials. In fact, I don't really even know how to navigate Facebook or Instagram. Thank God that Mary came aboard and really just heralded that whole cause. And she's got us, on Instagram, on Facebook. She does post like it's amazing. I just looked at some of the stuff you posted today, Mary. Really great work, and she's really invested in it. So she's really invested in it.
Yeah.
And I know very little about it. In fact, when people try to communicate with me through Instagram or Facebook, I can't even find it. So thank goodness for Mary. She what she does is she scours both social media pages and whatever is pertinent to me. She'll like dumb it down and put it in like a postcard or a text message so I can understand it. And otherwise I'd miss all these messages. So I'll defer to Mary on that topic.
I do want to address Amy 5 Aquatics comment here. I'm on a couple district marketplaces, but I'm not an owner, so this is not any kind of shill at all. But I will say, if you want to do something like whatnot, the district marketplaces, the owners are actually pushing you, like they're pushing their following to you, where you're not as much on an island. From what I understand about whatnot, I've never sold on whatnot. So you may want to try, some of the district platforms just because the owners are right there, pushing you, rating you. They'll go into the chats and help you. They'll sell along with you. That's just what I've noticed. So if you want to do that kind of selling, that might be something to look at. So, we're MikeMetco Meetups on Facebook and Instagram, and yeah, I'd love for those to grow just to help get the word out. We're promoting the meetups, and then when like on Facebook, I can actually post links. So if Mike puts up a video, or if somebody else puts up a video, I mean, like Resale Rabbit, he did a Planes to Profits video. Planes to Profit video. So I actually put that up on Facebook. Just different people are posting different videos. So I put the links up there, but then I also put the links to the live shows up there. I put the link to this live show up on Facebook. Now on Instagram, I can't share links on there. Now I do have the MikeMetco Meetups YouTube link in the bio, but I can't just post a link in. So I literally go through each YouTube video and get clips out of it and screenshot them. I try to get, ones that are maybe engaging or fun looking, and that's what I post on there. And I do go through, I go back and follow everyone who follows us. So that's how you get more engagement. And I follow people that are recommended to me, as long as it's relevant. I'm not going to follow somebody that doesn't look like they're a reseller. They wouldn't really be interested in our page. So, but yeah, I would love to grow that just to get the word up for the live shows and the meetups out there. I don't know if I even answered your question. I might have forgotten the question by the time I actually
No, what I was looking for is what do you see as the future of the site? I mean, how are you finding new meetups? How are you doing the networking? So you kind of hit on what I was fishing for there.
Okay. Yeah. Just like Mike was saying, I look through Instagram, and I don't look through Facebook quite as much. I mostly look through Instagram. And then I also get on the eBay community page, and we interviewed Star from Flippin' Hippos not too long ago. And I knew she did meetups, but then I saw her on the eBay community events page. And so then I reached out to her, but I've been a follower of hers for 7 years or something. Right. So.
If I can just add one thing, not as far as the mechanics of the social pages, but as far as the intent, I just want to point out it's kind of like a two-way street. Our Instagram and Facebook pages is a forum, a collection point for all data. So not only is Mary constantly pushing out all the current meetup and reseller activities, big and small, but we encourage people to reach out and to ask questions or if they have a small little meetup that they're organizing, let us know. We'll advertise it for you. Or if they want, if there's an interest, someone just asked anything going on in Ohio, so, and Mary happens to be from Ohio, so she was able to address that. So the idea is that it's just our whole channel is basically a collection point for all things in the meetup and live and live podcast world, where it's a point of where you can give and get information, ask questions or whatever. So it's a tool. So I think it's very helpful that we useful that Mary's so active in those and keeps them current each and every day.
Yeah, no, you guys are posting like I can't even keep up.
I hope it's not annoying. Once we have live shows, that made it more.
Right. And doing that, I think, is really important as well, because not everybody's in a position to travel to a lot of the actual physical meetups. So these, YouTube lives or the virtual events that some of the platforms put on are really integral to again, building that networking and getting people involved in the community. So highlighting those as well, I think is huge. Pixel Tail says, I've been selling on eBay since 99, but I'm newer to Mercari. How does the shipping work there? Any advantages?
I know you can do you want to comment on it too, Ryan?
Go ahead.
Okay. I actually use Mercari shipping because it's flat rate. So I can ship things to California, whereas, it might cost a lot more, for somebody maybe using, like by weight.
Right. Yeah. Doing ship on your own.
Yeah. So, but some people don't like Mercari shipping. Some people do think it's kind of expensive, but right. See, so Ryan will be able to comment on that. Now they do have media mail now, but I will say, you just type in your weight and your measurements, but it's flat rate. So whether it's going one town over or to California, so that there could be a disadvantage there because it might cost less if you did it on your own to do the next town over. But for me, it's easier. Plus, you get the Mercari protection up to $200.
Right.
So I do tend to like the flat rate. Same on Poshmark. It's flat rate.
Right. Although it went up.
Yeah, it just went up like 30 cents.
If you caught my episode Monday, they instituted a not a huge price increase. It was like 30 cents. But I have taken the opposite approach over on Mercari. I do ship on my own and do free shipping and just build the shipping price into 99% of what I sell is media mail. And Mercari does not use the actual media mail rate tables. So they are often more expensive than what I would actually pay. So I just do it myself from there. The flat rate on, priority or ground advantage, that may make sense, particularly, again, if you're shipping clear across country. And from an ease of use standpoint, especially if you're a newer seller to the platform, until you're comfortable with how everything works there, using their labels just for an ease of operation probably makes good sense. But in my case, having shipped 100 plus items a week for years on end, I've gotten comfortable enough with what the rates are and how it's going to work out. And I just do everything through Pirate Ship. I put a plug in for Mercari to integrate with Pirate Ship. That would help me out a lot, actually. But
yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah.
But they currently don't. But the other ones that I do. So Amy5 says, thank you. Any opinions on cross-listing apps, best and worst? Mike, have you tried any? You mentioned that you don't really do much cross-posting, but when you were looking at it, did you do it manually or?
Yeah, no, I've done everything manually. I am not presently or having any intentions on being on any of them, but I do know. I talk to people and I've learned things. List Perfectly, I think, is probably the most comprehensive and best one. They're a little more expensive, but I think it's worth every penny because they have like some awesome features. In addition to cross listing, they have they can basically do with AI, take a picture and the listing is done for you and all that. And then there are others like Venmo is pretty good that I've heard other people use, and there's some like free cross listing platforms like Flip, and another one that escapes me. I think it's a great idea, although do what I do, not as I don't do what I do what I say. in terms. But if you're thinking about, wanting to expand your business, level it up a little bit, it's a good idea to engage in different platforms and then look at the different cross-listing services and compare the features and the prices and everything. And I think it's a good idea, even though I don't engage in it right now.
Right. Mary, do you use a service?
No, I just copy and paste. I start everything in Mercari, and then I just use the same pictures, obviously, and copy and paste over to Poshmark and First Class Treasures. Yep.
Right.
So I don't have any experience with them at all.
I am a List Perfectly user myself. There is an affiliate link. If you're interested, you can get 30% off your first month. So it's kind of not quite a free trial, but 30% off a trial. That link is down in the show notes in the video description. Speaking of, so are the links to all of the MikeMetco Meetup stuff. So if you're interested in joining them over on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, those links are down there as well.
Thank you.
I have found List Perfectly. They have different tiers, different plans that you can use, so you can really select the one that best fits what you're trying to do. In my case, I list anywhere from 20 to 40 or 50 items a day, and I start in eBay because that's the most intensive one, as Mary was talking about earlier, with all the item specifics and that. So that's the most detailed listing, and then I take them from there through List Perfectly into Etsy and Mercari, which have much less requirements in terms of things like item specifics and details and so on. And that has worked very well for me. If you've caught some of the lives, I think I even walked through an example of how I used the service within the last month or so. So go back and look at those. But I'm a big believer. I'm on, I think it's their business plan. It's $49 a month.
Can't beat that.
And it usually pays for itself within the first day or two of the month. It's just been fantastic. I'm a big advocate for their service. Big Dre says to Amy, cross-list on Posh and Mercari, but sales have been very slow, if not dead. We were talking about that offline. It is slow everywhere right now. Playroom just finished taxes. Congratulations. I'm sorry. I did mine like a month ago because as a fully self-employed, we pay estimated quarterly taxes as well. And those are also due on the 15th. So I usually try to get mine in early in case I owe. That way I'm not coming out of pocket on April 15th for both of those at the same time. But it is that time. Playroom says, you said doo-doo. This could be it. Says I'm having cross-listing hangovers, sold on eBay, then oops on Mercari later and have to cancel. I'm backing away from it. I think with List Perfectly, if you pay for one of the higher tiers than I have, there is an automatic sales detection function that will remove listings. I don't use it, so I can't speak to how foolproof it is. I manually delete listings as I get a sale. I get the notification on my phone and I just immediately go into the other platforms and delete it manually. That way I know if it's screwed up, it was me. But yeah, it is an extra layer of work or of worry about having things. I've had one instance where a customer was shopping for something. They must have found it through Google search. They found it and not realizing that the business name was essentially the same on both platforms. They ordered it from Etsy and then less than a minute later ordered it again from me on eBay.
Really wanted two of them.
Right. So I'm like, I'm sorry, I only have one. So even List Perfectly is not perfect, definitely. So again, if you have any other questions for our guests, let us know in the chat. Mel Flips, it says nifty AI delist, but I still double check. It didn't once in 1.5 years. So one of the topics that has come up from time to time, Mike, you're a big eBay seller, is listings disappearing, where you list something and then you go back and look for it, whatever, a year or a year and a half down the road. Have you ever experienced listings where you've opened up a box of stuff or a bin on your shelf and seen stuff in there that is no longer listed on eBay?
Oh yeah, quite often. Let me preface what I'm about to say by saying the fact that I love eBay. It's a great platform. It's a kind of a love-hate relationship, as we all do. But in eBay's defense, I must say that I've always realized that it's the home of glitches and things like this nature, dropping listings and all. in their defense, I mean, you got to realize the overall scenario that eBay has to deal with. I mean, they have on any given day they have 1.6 billion items up on their store. I mean, like, how do you manage 1.6 billion? You know, you need like a town full of servers, I think, just to do that. And plus the fact that, and again, and this is where I have to kind of be a little critical of eBay with all of that and such a gargantuan, you know, platform that it is. It's really on a very antiquated backbone. I mean, the basic architecture of the software is 20 years old.
Right.
And if you know anything about software architecture, you know, anything that's more than 2 or 3 years old is antique, and they're always constantly putting band-aids on it and trying to fix it. So I say all that to kind of defend them a little bit, and they're making an effort. Whether they're making as good an effort as I would like, it remains to be seen. But to address the question, yeah, I found a lot of cases where things just go missing, and it's, you know, may be due to the fact of what I just previously mentioned. I've heard somewhere that a listing after like 6 months or after a year, it's not even a listing anymore. It's in there, but it's buried so deep that it doesn't even come up in search, even if you give the exact, you know, word for word, you know, search requests and all, and stuff gets missing. And if you're not doing a regular inventory, you know, you're doing yourself a disservice, because there are many times where, you know, I'll just go in and say this thing really should have sold by now. And I look at it and it's just not there anymore. And then I'll have to just, you know, relist it as if it's a new item. So that happens, you know, quite a bit. And the converse, I think, is true as well. Although eBay will deny it, I've found where I've had something that I sold and it's back up there, and then I sell it again.
Yeah.
And now I have to disappoint the buyer and explain to them. And you know, it's a defect. You know, it's going to be a defect on my service metrics.
Right.
And I don't think that's fair, because it's not my own doing. And they say, all right, well, keep an eye on your entire inventory. I have 1,300 items in my store.
Yeah.
It's near impossible to really make sure each and every day that every item that is on your store you in fact have. So that's a little bit of a challenge as well. So it's not, you know, it's not a perfect system, eBay. I think it's the best. I mean, you know, you're not going to beat the reach of eBay's, you know, sales ability. So I'm sticking with it. I'm just dealing with it as, you know, and working around it. And I've had like little things that I do to kind of work around the problems that is presented on a daily basis with eBay. So you learn and you just adapt. But I'm not giving it up. I love selling on the platform overall.
Right. And I say the same thing all the time. I love eBay. It's 80% of my business. I couldn't do what I do without them. But I wish they were better at it. And like you said, with the old architecture, you know, they try to do all these new things and make updates, and they of course have downstream effects on old software that they can't anticipate, and you end up in a situation like yesterday where, you know, you can't list, or like they had last week when search was completely down for a couple of hours. I mean, it's unfortunately the nature of the beast over there. Have you had anything like that, Mary, on Poshmark or Mercari, where you've discovered something that a listing had disappeared? I don't really hear people complaining about that, but I'm just curious what your experience has been.
I honestly haven't had that happen. And I moved in, I guess it was last May, and I did like a full inventory before that and checked everything, and there was nothing extra listed and nothing was gone. So I honestly have not had that problem on those platforms.
Yeah.
I did want to say really quick what you were saying about double selling that thing to the same buyer. That did happen to me once. It was when Facebook was doing shipping. I loved Facebook shipping until it just tanked, and now it's gone. But
right.
I loved Facebook shipping. But yeah, the same person bought my item from Facebook and Mercari. And so luckily she was really cool. But I thought that was kind of funny that happened to you too.
Yep. It's really amazing that it doesn't happen more often, particularly on really unusual items where, you know, I've got any number of books that I might have the only one currently listed somewhere. And if somebody really wants it and they see it listed multiple places and they're a collector, it's really remarkable that it hasn't happened more frequently than it has.
Right.
Mel says, Mary, do you find that Mercari listings don't sell once they're old? She has heard that.
Yeah, we were actually talking about that last night on Nurse Flipper's channel. Other people have heard that too, but I've actually had things sell that I haven't touched, because they don't automatically delist items after 30 days like eBay does. I mean, there have been things I've had up there for 9 months and they wind up selling. So now of course I'm not sure what you mean by old. I don't know if you mean years or just, multiple months, but I've definitely had things sell, I know for sure at least 9 months. And usually I'll take it down and try to relist it. I try to do that after 6 to 9 months. Lately, it's been closer to probably 9 months. And then I kind of reevaluate the price and make sure I don't have anything messed up, and at that point I check my price on Poshmark also. But yeah, I've heard that too, but that's not my experience personally.
Right. What about you? I know you're not on Mercari, but on eBay, Mike, have you noticed like older items just don't sell? I know you mentioned that they seem to be buried in search results in a lot of cases, but have you found that older items you've got to delist, relist to get them active again?
Yes, in general, yes. For the most part, I would say the predominant, cases, something that's more than like 6 or 9 months old will not sell. But then again, I'll be surprised. All of a sudden, a sale, I'll get a ka-ching. It'll be an item that I literally did not remember that I had in my store. So, I mean, it's it kind of works out a funny way. That's why what I do is I have a regular process whereby, like, as Mary said, everything on eBay after 30 days that they delist and they just, and they make it, they just renew it,
Renew, yeah.
They renew the item, and then you're paying that 30 cents insertion fee after, whatever your store subscription allows. So before I allow that to happen, I'll go on and you just search the filter that says ending soonest, and then I'll just do a delist, do my own delist and relist. But in addition to just killing the listing and selling similar, I'll go and I'll modify the pictures and the title and the price and this and that. So that's why that keeps all my oldest items a little bit more current, and it brings it, it tags it with a new item, caption for at least a couple of days, and and it doesn't sell them all. Like it's not as effective if it is a new listing, but I will get a decent percentage of those items that I've delisted and relisted, coming up, and I'll sell them. Whereas if I had not done that, they just staying in the back of the pack and never to be seen again. So that's a little trick, and I'll do that a lot when I'm away. If I don't have items to list when I'm away, I'll do like delist, relist 20, 30, 40 items a day while I'm just away from my station here at home, and it does. Right. And it kind of like, it tickles the algorithm. It keeps you current. It shows eBay that you're putting activity into your store and you're freshening up some items, and I guess decent amount of sales as a result of that as well.
How do you handle your stores when you go for these meetups and you're gone for 2, 3, 4 days? Do you both put your stores on vacation mode, or do you just let them go, or do you have somebody that can help you out, or how do you handle when you're going to be away for multiple days?
There you go first. Correct.
Okay. On Mercari, gosh, they might actually have a vacation mode now.
Yeah.
Because I haven't really been anywhere. I mean, I know last time I think I had to deactivate everything. When I went last August, I think I had to deactivate everything. But yeah, that's what I'll do. They give you 3 days. So it kind of depends. I mean, for Nashville, I'm leaving on Friday and coming back on Monday. So that really isn't even 3 business days. So I'll have to look at that. Now, Poshmark does count Saturday because Poshmark is all USPS. And so they know you can ship on Saturday feasibly. So honestly, I'm gonna have to see what I'm gonna do about that. But I'm pretty sure last time I just had to deactivate all of my listings.
Right. What about you, Mike?
I approach it 2 different ways depending on how long I'll be away. And that, for example, when I was in Las Vegas for the Boss Remix meetup, I was there for 2 weeks. And when I just got back from Plains to Profit in Omaha, and I was just there for 4 days. Now for the I prefer to just keep my store open and just adjust my handling time. So like when I was at the Plains of Profit and I was only gone for 4 days and a weekend worked in there, I was able to, my handling time is typically same day, but I'll just extend my handling time to 4 days, and it's business as usual, except that my handling time has been stretched out. When I'm away for an extended period of time, like in Vegas when I was gone for 2 weeks, it's pretty impractical to put a 2-week handling time and leave it at that. So what I do is I invoke the time away feature on eBay, and there's 2 options when you're on vacation mode. You can either shut down your store, whereby all your listings get blind and people don't see your store at all, or you can just keep your store open. And I can't see why anyone would just not want to keep their store open. That's a personal choice. So I keep my store open, during the time that I'm away, and then I adjust my handling time as well a couple of days, because it helps out when you get back. And also another tip that I kind of got burned initially was, like a couple of trips ago, I put my store on time away, but I was accepting offers up till the moment that I was leaving.
Right.
And you got to be careful with that, because the time away on eBay does not take into account any make offers. Like an offer is valid for 4 days, or any auctions that you may have running.
Yep.
The time away does not cover that. So be careful if you're going to invoke the time away feature. So what I do now is 4 days before I'm going away, I will not make any offers, and they'll stock up. And you don't usually like to let them build up, and in this case, I have to. So I don't make any offers 4 days before. The day that I'm leaving, I put my store on time away. I adjust my handling time a little bit, and then as it gets closer to my returning home, I'll actually 3 or 4 days before I'm ready to go home, I'll shut off the time away, and I'll just keep my handling time to compensate for it. And this way, it works on 2 purposes. It wakes up my store so that I start making more sales, on my way, toward heading home, and also I can start taking those offers. I'll have accumulated 100, 200 offers at that point, and I'll make all the offers. So now I'll have a bunch of possible sales to make, on my way home, and it's worked out, pretty well. Like when I was in Vegas last month, I mean, I did like 38 sales over the course of being away, and that worked out pretty good, which is off what I would normally have done in a 2-week period, but it was better than nothing. I mean, it's not being home. And to answer the other question about having someone at home to do any of that packing, I don't. So I'm kind of self-sufficient, so I have to handle everything myself. So I'm well prepared when I get home. The day or the 2 days afterwards, I know that's all I'm doing is packing those days. I get them out, but I time my schedule it appropriately.
Yep. Some good tips in there. Amy5 Aquatic says up to 1,750 listings now. February was great. Now it's slow, but I'm still getting daily sales. Yep, same. It is off from what it has been, but I still get sales every day. I don't know, did I sell anything here while we've been here? Yes, I've got 2 sales just in the hour we've been on here. So, Ms. Lachey says I promote items on Mercari to keep them fresh. I'm with Mary. I've not done a lot of promotion on Mercari because I find that people seem to just like things like it's a social media not that they're legitimately interested. To be fair, it seems like it's almost the same over on eBay. I'm with you, Mike. I go in and I look at my send offer eligible every morning, and there'll be 20, 25, 30 things there, and I'll send offers on all of them, and maybe 1 or 2 result in a sale. Now, that's 1 or 2 sales I might not have had otherwise, but the take rate on sending those offers out, at least for me, has not been great, and it's been absolutely zero on Mercari. How about you, Mary? Do you find that people take advantage of sending offers out with any regularity on Mercari?
I wouldn't call it with any regularity. I mean, every now and then, but honestly, because I realized that they just didn't accept them, I don't do it as much. And then where with Poshmark, they won't send the same person the same offer within 90 days. on Mercari, every time you send an offer, you could be sending it to the same person, but then it's just lower, lower, lower. And you don't want to be like spammy or annoying,
Right.
So I have done a little bit with promoting, actually not too long ago, I went through and promoted like all my older items, but with retail arbitrage, my buy-in is a little bit higher. So I need to be a little more careful with those. But for the things that were just my items or things that I had thrifted maybe for a lower price, I have done some promoting, but I don't promote with any regularity anymore either, where I used to do that all the time.
Speaking of promoted listings, Mike, do you do promoted listing campaigns on eBay at all, either the general or the priority campaigns?
Yes, I do. I just want to make one point about the last topic as far as sending offers. By the very nature of how the sending offers work, you really have to act on them right away. I mean, typically eBay will, someone will watch an item, and they will generate a send offer condition to the seller, and that buyer is just looking at it right then at that moment, and they want to buy something, and in 10 minutes from then, they'll be off somewhere else and buying it. So if you're not, so I find that if a send offer is more than like a half an hour old, you're not going to get too much of a play on it. Whereas if you act on it right away, it's much more effective. That's why I cringe when all my send offers build up and I have like 100, 200 send offers. I know like 90% of them are not going to work out. That's why I just do a bulk 15% send offer and leave it at that. So for me, it's preferable for me to like go on my phone like 10, 12 times a day and look and see if there are any send offers and send them all immediately. And I'm more effective when I send offers rather than letting them build up. That's this is my preference. As far as the promoted listings, yes, I promote at 5.1%, and there's a specific reason for that number. When promoted listings were first introduced, and it was 1%. And then it went to 2%. A lot of people were promoting at 1% and 2%, and you're just really right in the pack. So, like if the norm was 1% and you were listing at 1%,
sure,
you weren't really out of the group. So a lot of people would promote at 1.1%, and then when it went to 2%, minimum requirement, if you are going to promote, they went to 2.1%. But to promote at 2% at 2.1%, you're kind of in the pack as well. So I go to like 5% minimum and 5.1 for those people who promote at 5%. I got that one extra point that I'm ahead of the pack, and it works out. And I pretty much promote 5.1 across the board. And what I found was, some people will say, some items that are like, unique items, you have the only one. It's not necessary to promote that item. But I find that when they first initiated this promoted listings campaign, they were really and look, it's just, let's face it, the bottom line is money, generating revenue for their shareholders. So I found that promoting listings was not so much promoting an individual listing to get better placement on the selling page, but rather as a point of entry. Before I resisted promoting for the longest time, and I heard people say, yay and nay on the promoting track. And when I did promote, I went to the 5%. It's like I opened up the floodgates, and I was selling stuff that kind of needed promoted listings and stuff that didn't need promoted listings. It's kind of like an entry fee into selling. I mean, unfortunately, that's what it is. So I believe in it, and some items, then I'll particularly look at specific items that I'll never go to the eBay recommended promoter rate, because that's like crazy. They want you to promote 20-25% on certain items. So I don't promote that much, but I will increase my promoted rate depending on the value of the item, the rarity of the item, and what it requires. So it's a floating range that I use.
Right.
Money is important.
Yeah, it's interesting. Everybody has a different approach to it. Some, like Max was here last week, and he commented that he doesn't do promoted listings at all. Den Decor Depot who is here, has mentioned a few times that he has done dynamic rate with no cap. from time to time just to see what happens.
Crazy.
I do dynamic at 7%, and find that I'm paying 7% pretty much on everything. Very little stuff seems to go out for less than that. And like you, eBay is constantly pushing me to up my campaign percentage by 1%. We just talked about, I think in the Monday show, eBay supposedly divulged how they use machine learning to recommend what those rates should be. But it's funny that rate is always higher than whatever rate I have previously selected. Miss Lachey says, I price a little higher initially and then promote after 30 to 60 days. Do you have any kind of delay, Mike, or do you promote right away?
Yeah, I do that. In fact, I mentioned that last night. That what I do when I put up a new listing, I consider it new, fresh, new for like the first 2 weeks, and that's the prime time that an item will sell, because it's really got that new label on it, and it's fresh, and it's at the top of the ranking. So I will not even promote it for the first 30 days. I don't think it's necessary, and I generally won't even take an offer, unless something's like it's favorable, where it's like $100 item and someone offers me $80, $90. Sure, I'll take it. But for the most part, the way I treat my listings depends on how long they've been up. Like I said, initially I do not promote. After 30 days, I will promote, and I'll start to take offers. And then as the listing ages, I'll be more aggressive at taking offers, and I'll incorporate my markdown, sales along the way. Like typically, what I do is I'll constantly run a markdown sale based on my oldest items. And some of my oldest items that is literally sitting in my store for couple 3 years that I know I'm not going to sell. They're just sitting up there taking space. I'm not afraid to put a 50% markdown sale on it. I mean, I'd rather take 50%. I'm certainly going to recoup my initial investment and then some. But more importantly, I'm going to sell something that would not sell otherwise.
Right.
And I move it out and make room on my shelves for fresher inventory.
Yep. Mel Flips it says, fast offer on eBay as a buyer, favorited 3 of the same item, and the first offer she took. I promote like right away, and I'll send offers right away. I had a lot of books, 4 books, all by the same author. I listed them yesterday, put them up at a promoted listing like I normally do, got a watcher, sent out an offer this morning, and sold them. So I'm sure I lost the 15% that I discounted it, plus I probably am going to pay the promoted fee, but flipped these 4 books that I had nothing in. It was part of a free book pickup, and I'm out from under them and move on. So I'm not patient. I'm like super aggressive. I promote. I'll go in and I use when I go into eBay, I look at the promoted eligible tab to do my cross listing. And then as soon as I'm done with that, those 10, 15 items that I just cross listed, I immediately then promote them, and they're cleared out, and then I can get on to the next. And so I'm super aggressive. Mel Flips it asks, Ms. Lachey, do you promote every item? Mike, did you have something you wanted to comment on?
I was just going to say there's a lot to be said for your business model, Ryan. Absolutely. Burning, sharing, you're moving the stuff. You may lose a little bit on the top end of profit margin, but it's sold. It's definitely sold. So you're taking advantage of the freshness of the item and hitting it on all barrels. That kind of makes a lot of sense.
Right.
What can we consider?
How about you, Mary? What's your kind of pricing strategy? Do you price things to move, or are you trying to like maximize because you're, as a part-time seller, your dynamic is a little bit different than those of us who are full-time, who want to like maximize cash flow right away. You theoretically could be a little more patient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With offers, like if somebody offers me something within reason, I will usually take it. Now, how I price initially, I try like my certain blanket brands that I sell, I price them the same every single time, and then I can take offers. But I price them according to market, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much according to market. Now I'm going through some of my old plush and some of my old books right now, and those are my items. I'm probably pricing those a little more aggressively, more to sell them. Right. But again, I'm not trying to tank the market. I mean, if somebody else had something for $50, I'm not going to put it up there for 10, but so I kind of look at the comps, but I'm gonna come in lower on those kinds of items. But yeah,
Right.
I'm probably doing more the market on the RA.
Yeah, I'm curious. Both of you could answer this. How do you do like your comp research? Do you look just at the one site that you're selling on, or do you look at other sites? Just to give an example of what I did yesterday, I looked up a book on eBay. There was one seller with one copy. It was $170. I'm like, I don't feel like this particular book is probably worth $170. So I got on some other sites and I found dozens of them selling for as little as 15 bucks. So what kind of, you look at Poshmark or Mercari or eBay in Mike's case, and you see a random kind of one-off item that just doesn't make sense. What's your process to determine where you want to price that thing?
Well, I'll check Poshmark, Mercari, eBay in Google. Yeah. So and now obviously on Google you can't check the sold comps in general, but you can go to that site and check them. So I guess if I were in that situation where I didn't think it would sell at 170, I guess I would just look at the item but I'd probably price it lower than that also. But yeah, I will definitely check all the different platforms if it's not something I'm sure. But again, a lot of the stuff I sell has the same price. And sometimes I will price differently. Well, a lot of times I'll price differently between Mercari and Poshmark. So I take the platform into consideration too.
Gotcha. Mike?
What I do when I'm researching an item for listing on eBay, I'll go to the eBay site and I'll do my research right from there to kind of get an idea of what's at work for that item on the site. What I'll do is I'll start scanning the barcode if it has one. And if nothing comes up, I'll take a picture search. And I've been finding lately that a lot of cases, I don't know if it's a glitch, but it's been pretty consistent lately, that the visual search renders nothing on eBay. Nothing comes up on eBay. But I don't quit there, so I'll go to Google Lens, which I also use out in the wild, and also to do my research. And I'll take a picture on Google Lens, and invariably something comes up. You get some search results from Google Lens, and as a result, you're getting in addition to identifying what the item is by taking a picture of it, it's also qualifying it from the Google sales point of view. I mean, you click on the purchase filter. In addition to I use all filter and then purchase filter, and then it'll give you some comps in a bunch of different platforms. I mean, Depop and Grailed and Poshmark, Mercari. So when you use that Google Lens search feature, it's very comprehensive, and I get the benefit of getting comps on 8 or 10 different platforms, and even retail platforms. I get like Walmart, information and whatever, and the this actual store that it's sold at. But search like a couple of electronic items, and the store brand values come up as well. Those are usually higher, but this way I can get a really good across the board idea of what it sells. And invariably, they'll have within that Google search parameter, they'll spit out different eBay listings as well. Although the eBay search won't do it. You go through. You go through the Google Lens,
right,
and it gets you to the eBay listings as well.
Yeah, eBay's search is not great. Miss Lachey says, I don't send offers often on Mercari. I have a different strategy for offers than promotion. Promoting takes your listing back to the top of search over there. Mel flips it. Yes, at some point. Big Dre, I do dynamic no cap because I'm about 80% full in my storage unit. So in order to avoid getting larger unit, I try to sell my items first with max promotions. And those are considerations that we've all got to make. How much space do I have? How much free working capital do I have to buy more inventory? I don't want it sitting in my warehouse unnecessarily if I can flip it and get out of it. Mr. Shea says, speaking specifically about Mercari, eBay is a different animal. That's polite. Miss Lachey says, I use data strategies for Mercari versus eBay. Miss Lachey, we're going to have you on the show so you can talk about all of this. Media Picker Says, just reviewed a follower on my channel store. His issue was consistency. You need consistency in photographs, pricing, and titles. And he was way overpriced. Yeah, virtually, I assume you've both seen this too. You'll go in and you'll look at an item wherever, Poshmark or eBay, and there's 10 or 15 listings, and they may range from $5 to $80. And I always wonder where that $80 seller, where they came up with that number, and why, what they think they're going to be able to do differently than the guy who's trying to sell this same exact thing for $5.
Optimism. That's all. Simply optimism.
Yeah.
Have you ever run into that where you found something that you see a lot of, like Mike, with electrical stuff, where you'll see a whole bunch of things that people have got listed at what is below market value? Will you like wait out those things and price it where it should go, hoping that the cheap ones all get off the market and then yours you can make money on? How do you handle that?
Yeah, generally I'll do that. It depends on how many there are. I mean, if there's one outlier, if like an item, say, typically goes for like $50 to $60, say, and there's one or two outliers, down to $10 to $15 range, I am not going to subsidize the value of my item by trying to undercut them or meet the current market. I'll be patient. I'll let that item will obviously sell first, but once it sells, then I'm next in the queue, because I typically price my items just slightly under market, so that if I'm the first one that will come up in the search. If you're searching on lowest price plus shipping, mine will always come up first or second. Yep.
Mary, you?
Yeah, like, I don't mean to keep talking about blankets, but that's like my favorite thing to sell.
Right.
If I have the exact same blanket, I'm pricing it how I'm pricing it. If somebody wants to sell theirs for $5 and lose money, then that's maybe they got it for free. I did not get mine for free, so I price it. And the cool thing is, on Poshmark and Mercari, people can bundle. I sold 6 blankets in one bundle not too long ago, and the price they paid me was less for each one, but I sold 6, right at the time. So I'm willing to accept offers, but I'm not going to, put a really low price on it, because people will still send you offers, and I just can't. So yeah, it doesn't make, at least with the RA stuff, it really doesn't matter to me what they're pricing it. I'm pricing what I'm pricing, because I know I have sold multiples of these at that price.
Right. And those bundles make good sense. Like I just talked about with those books I got that I sold this morning, there were sellers that had them for like $4.99 free shipping. So essentially they have no value. They were, £1.50 books. So their media rate's $5.38 to ship them. You just can't make that make sense. Right. But you put 4 of them into a bundle, you price them at $10.99 plus shipping, and all of a sudden, as a lot, it's competitive. 24 hours later, they're gone. So, I mean, you've got to work with what you got a little bit, and think about the pricing strategies, and can you do a bundle or a lot of 2 or 3 or 6 of whatever it is, and make the math make sense and make still an attractive listing that somebody would be interested in buying.
And when in this, I do have a couple where I have 2 for sale, but on Mercari and Poshmark, the buyer can create their own bundle,
right? And
so that's what she happened to do. But can they do that on eBay now, or do you literally have to do it yourself, where you just reimburse shipping, or do they do those bundles now? Because I loved it when Mercari added it.
Right. Not really. Like my experience is that if the buyer goes in and just adds items to their cart at your price and buys them, that will combine them all. But if they make individual offers, there's no way for them to bundle and send you an offer on the whole bundle. Mike, what is that your experience as well?
Yeah, well, I find that when people put things in their cart, hopefully, and this isn't perfect, the shipping will be adjusted.
Right.
They'll combine the shipping, but there's no provision in that scenario for the buyer to actually, have a reduced price. If you're buying 1 or you're buying 5, you're going to be paying 5 times the amount. There is a provision on eBay where you can make quantity purchases with
Right.
with a discount for each one, and that's a good feature to put in. So if buy two, take 5% off, buy three, 10% off, or
Right.
whatever. So that's a way to automatically put that in. But for the most part, the buyer would have to be savvy enough to kind of contact the seller and make some kind of an
Right.
arrangement, and then either I'll maybe make a new listing for them,
Yeah.
which is advisable because now it's better for me, to do that rather than having to pay the final value fee on the original costs and then discount them at the back end. But generally, it's a lot easier just to say, okay, look, I'll give you $20 off if you're buying these 5
Right.
items, and then you just pay the full price. And then what I will do is I'll refund you that money. But again, you're paying the final value fee on the entire price. So that $20 that you're not generating, you're paying the 20% on as well. So it depends on the situation.
Right. So we're at about 90 minutes here. I normally like to try to keep these to an hour. So we have consumed a bunch of your time. I'll solicit one last round of questions. Anybody that's in the chat, if you have anything else you'd like to ask before we get out of here. In the meantime, is there anything either of you would like to close with today?
Go ahead, Mary. I'll let you go first.
Oh, I just wanted to thank you so much for having us. I really appreciate it. And I just want to remind everybody we're MikeMetco Meetups on YouTube and Instagram and on Facebook.
Awesome. And again, those links are in the video description down below. So if you can't remember that, they're down there for you. Just go click away. Feel free to follow and subscribe. Mike?
Yes, and I too would like to mirror Mary's sentiments and thanking you so much for having us. I have a little admission to make. To be honest, I was not aware of your channel, Ryan, before. And it's not a slur to you, I tell you. And I watch and consume a lot of video content, but there's so much out there, and
Yes.
I tell you, so when Mary says that we were graciously invited on your channel, I says that would be great. So what I always do is a little research. I'll then start watching some of the person's content so I can kind of communicate a little bit. And I was very pleasantly surprised at coming across your channel and how I missed it. I mean, I'm really amazed because it is so professionally well done. I mean, let's face it, most of us, I'll speak for myself, are pretty much amateurs in the broadcasting realm. Yeah, you bring an air of official. I really, when I first watched your first video, I thought you were like a legitimate guy on TV. You're very polished and well spoken, and and that's another great thing for why we are. We are in this field now where we're expanding our horizons, and I've been introduced to a number of content providers who I was not aware of, and I'm pleasantly surprised. So you're definitely on my listing schedule, and I'll be enjoying watching you in the future. And we're going to have you on our show as well.
Right.
I understand we're doing a little reciprocal. Yes. So Mary is the booking agent; she'll arrange all that. And just want to close again by I really appreciate you having us on and supporting our channel, and really had a great time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, this has been awesome. I appreciate you guys taking some time out of your day. And as always, to everyone who was here in the chat and participated, I always appreciate that as well. I'm pretty bad about asking for the thumbs up, but if you got some value out of this, do me a favor if you're watching on YouTube and hit that thumbs up button. There's Miss Lachey helping me out. I appreciate it. I look forward to being on your show coming up here, hopefully in the next few weeks or a month or whatever works for you guys. And I very much appreciate the kind words as well. My friends, again, thank you so much for coming out. And until next time, it's time to sell. Thanks, guys.
Everybody, thanks again.